What up, YouTube? It's March the 7th. It's 4 o'clock a.m. I was going to do this outside, but it's too cold out there. So this is my hands right now. I ain't got no notes or nothing like that. So I'm going to try not to talk real loud because everybody in the next room sleep. So basically this chapter is called Khalid-Ibn-Al-Walid and his conquest on his way to Syria. So in the beginning, they started talking about how Abu Bakr had sent him a letter for the holy war that was going on in the north, which is a little weird. I'll break down in a second. So he sent him a letter, and he received a letter between the month of June and July. Now this is supposed to be like the month of Rubai Thani or something like that, right? So I looked it up. I'm like, okay, as far as the Western translation, it's June through July. Keep that in mind. So he received that letter, and he was in Al-Hira. Now, according to the chapter, some people say he could have been in Al-Tamar at the time, which is also in Iraq along the Euphrates River. So I'm like, okay, I'm reading about it. I'm like, all right. That part in particular, as far as like this time period, kind of coincides with a prior chapter. Again, Dumat al-Jandal. Because at the end of that chapter, when they was talking about how like Uqadir had apostatized, he had went to Al-Hira and he had built the fort and he called it Dumat al-Hira. So like at the end of that chapter itself, Khalid went to Iraq to deal with him, and he ended up killing him and then taking over that fort. After that happened, then he went back toward Dumat and al-Jandal and defeated the people there, and then put his brother, Hurayth, in charge of the people, and that's when he had converted to Islam as well. So as far as like this chapter, I'm thinking like, okay, all that kind of like coincides within the same time period. So it's still like an example of the Ridda period, but I guess you could say it's kind of like a gray area here, because this is also the time period when they declared a holy war on the Greeks and the Ghassanids, who had control over parts of Jordan, mostly Syria, and then what they call Ashim, which is parts of the Levant as well. So some people in this chapter were saying like, as far as the letter that he received from Abu Bakr, he might not have been in Al-Hira. He could have been in Tamari at this time. But either way, according to like the first part of it, as far as Al-Hira, after he got the letter, he left. And Al-Kufa is north of Al-Hira. So when he got to Al-Kufa, they didn't say whether it was some type of fight that happened or whether they had control over Al-Kufa already. They just said that he left another guy in charge there. The guy, his name is Al-Muthana Ibn Haritha Ash-Shaybani. Off the head, so I'm still trying to make sure I got everything correct. So anyway, he had left him in charge of that district there in Al-Kufa, and then he left and he went further north, and he had about like 800 guys with him all together. That's when he went to Tamar. When he went there, he basically just raided the people. That's all they said about them. Now, once again, as far as Al-Kufa, I forgot to mention this. Before, like up until this point, out of all the stuff that I read, including like some Wikipedia articles, I don't recall anything as far as them mentioning how Islam spread through Al-Kufa. That's why I'm sort of curious about it. Like, shit, was it already a province beforehand? Or on his way going north, did he decide to make that a province in addition? Because overall, they were just spreading throughout different oases anyway, trying to spread this philosophy of Islam. The whole thing, as far as a holy war, I feel like that's like incidental to that aim overall. It was something that was inevitable. So like, I ain't gonna say interval, but you know, in between time, did he gain Al-Kufa as a result of that aim? That's what I'm kind of curious about. Anyway, so he went to Tamar, basically invaded the people there, And then when he left Tamar, he went to Sandab. That was the name of the place, because you had these Kendal tribes there as well. One was called Iyas, and then another one was just the Kendal. I got paused right there for a second because, like, in reading and researching this chapter, I found out a little bit more about the Kendal tribe, because I thought that was just what they was, a tribe. I didn't know they was sort of kind of like a confederation, split into other groups as well. But I get into all that later on anyway. So you had the Iyas there, and then you had the Kendal tribe there. So he fought against those people, and he basically defeated them as well, and took all of their goods, or a lot of their possessions. So then when he left there, he went to two other places. One was called Al-Mudayya, and then another one was called Al-Husayed. Now, this goes back to the Kendal people. And then this particular sub-tribe is what I researched that brought me to the knowledge of, or more in-depth knowledge about the Kendal tribe overall. So there, you had what they call the Banu Khalid-Ibn-Al-Walid tribe. Remember, that's a subset because it's four